All right, guys and gals, the first movie I will be reviewing for this episode is going to be The Woman King. This movie I'm looking forward to talking about. It was directed by Gina Prince-Bythewood, so I'm glad like it did succeed my, or I should say, exceed my expectations, and I was very happy with what I saw. So I'm gonna go over that. It's a movie that it does take place around like 17th and 19th century, between 17th through 19th century of that era. And through that time, there are plenty of great stories that are told, and the Woman King is really one of them. And I think it is fantastic because it highlights leaders who fight for your kingdom. They swear to protect and keep their civilians safe, which is really common anyway. But I'm glad like a lot of the lead characters are strong, tough, uh, courageous women as well. So this is another thing that I really like. It does fall like an oh, before I mention the characters, it is like based on a story that's written by both uh, Donna Stevens and Maria Bello. It is a novel, but just keep in mind there is partially fiction and fact because I am aware it does take place uh, in a kingdom called Dahomey, I think, around that era, but it does follow a story of all female warrior known as the Agoji. They're tasked with protecting their kingdom of Dahomey, which is like in West Africa. It's again protecting their civilians against like rival nations, rival tribes, and even slave traders as well. Unfortunately, also part of the story. So I thought that the director did a great job, and I really like the cast as well. I thought the cast really did a good job here with Viola Davis, Lashana Lynch, Sheila Atim, Thuso Mbedu, and John Boyega as well. And I really like how the story really just unravels into more interesting places when this young girl who refuses to be married to an older abusive man who actually like hits her in the face in front of her own parents. Like her dad just sends her away to be trained by the Ogoji. And I think obviously throughout time she makes friends, she gets stronger. So, you know, the film really just focusing on this young girl alongside like the other characters, like known as Izogi and Ameza as well, played by Lynch and Atim respectfully. It was really interesting, especially Viola Davis's character. The general, the leader, like Naniska. I thought like her connection to I forgot the name of the young child, no Nawabi or something. Yeah, but uh, her connection really with her throughout is especially revealed like somewhere in the late second act. Really is interesting. So it does make more sense when you think about her actions in the third film. But I will get to that as well. Again, like action sequences and all that, that's more than fine. I really like how the women really get to shine the spotlight and the men not so much. The men are, kind of like the antagonists in a way. I don't think it's meant to be a woman versus, or I should say, women versus men kind of story. So just keep in mind. But I think it's meant to really highlight like an era in West Africa that was real, while there's sort of like a fictional story as well. I did mention John Boyega's character as well. He's like a king, like a King Gezo or something. I mean, he was fine. I thought he did a good job, decent job. I like, it's either him dealing with his wives or ordering people around or peace negotiations and all that, or just like telling Nanisko, don't do this or you'll be punished or whatever. It's fine. But for him, it's more than dialogue than just anything. But yeah, at least he got to show the extent of his power as king. So he wasn't too bad, but he wasn't just given much to do other than just dialogue. So you kind of get to see it's important that a movie like this highlights the landscape. You kind of get to see the landscape of Dahomey as well, and how the people are all of a sudden like trapped in the slave trade and all that. Especially how that unravels. So is it based on a true story? Again, like I said, yes and no. So you just have to keep that in mind. But the basic framework of the story is inspired by true events that occurred during that era, during that time in West Africa. So it is something that you have to keep in mind. And now it is said that the army did grow in ranks up to like 6,000 female soldiers, which it is a fact. 6,000, that's pretty impressive. But yeah, the actual characters, like, they're not real. They are actually fictional. So this is something I thought that it was fine. It does a good job. It just tells the story of life in Dahomey at that time and how women are still oppressed, but there's always an opportunity for them to grow and be stronger and tougher in that way. And I thought the writer did explain that because of the history of this nation, it was often written by white European uh, white European people. So the fictionalization of the characters let them get away from biases that may have been present. So like there are Caucasian European characters that you'll see later on, but uh, their characteristics maybe not as described in the books. So that's just something to just keep in mind. But one of the things I liked about the film is like how Nanisco, because of a twist revelation, makes a decision that really could have compromised, her ranking in the kingdom just for of the kingdom of Dahomey, just for this young child, who did try to be brave and heroic, but after even seeing one of her friends get killed, almost gets sold, but is sort of saved by a man that she grew a connection with, not romantically, but just in a friendly way. But still, like, I thought the choices that were made in the final act really like sealed the movie in a very strong direction. So this was just something I liked. And I realize maybe now that it's early November, I'm not sure there's still movie theater chains playing this movie, but if you saw the film, let me know if you liked it, because I think it's great. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It should come to streaming soon enough.